Hello, and welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about the different ways we can take care of ourselves when we're struggling with our emotions, or when we're not. We discuss how even the most basic elements of self-care seem to elude so many of us, and the positive impact of embracing some of them in our daily lives. I asked Martin about memorable sporting injuries. He reads an article in the paper, and we feel grateful for things close to home. How to self-soothe.
All right.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
It's Monday evening rather than Sunday morning.
Yeah, I feel more jaded than I would do on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I do really.
Yeah.
I'm easy like Sunday morning, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's your fault, isn't it? Because you couldn't do it yesterday because you were selfishly going to visit your daughter.
I was, yes, all right, and I did.
Did you have a nice time?
I did, very nice, thank you. Yeah, it's great.
Good.
It's great.
And have you been watching the tennis?
No, well, yeah, I have been, not today because I've just got in from work.
I was just watching it while I was waiting for you.
Yeah, well, I do, as you know, I do like a bit of Wimbledon. But no, I haven't had a chance to catch up with it today yet.
Have you ever, I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking about tennis. Have you ever, when you've been playing doubles in the past, did you ever serve and hit your opponent on the back of the head?
Of course. You have to do that, don't you? Sometimes if you're playing with someone that's terrible, it wakes them up a little bit as well, doesn't it?
I can remember doing that up the Heath once, and I can't remember who I was playing with. I've got a feeling it might have been Dave Clark. But I'm not sure. And then it got me. Then it just kind of led me on to thinking about most painful sporting experiences.
Okay.
What springs to mind for you?
Oh, lots of football injuries.
Right. I don't think anything really beats a cricket ball in the bollocks.
No, I got the football in the bollocks several times. That lays you low for a while, that's for sure. And everyone laughs, that's the problem. No one shows any concern at all. It's very funny for everyone.
I'll tell you what else really hurts football-wise, and that's getting a ball on the inside of the thigh on a cold winter's morning.
Yeah, it does, yeah. But it can leave a bruise. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where you start to go down that route.
Oh, I told you, I showed you my workings. I was watching the tennis and it got me thinking about hitting people on the head with a tennis ball, and then led me on to other sporting mishaps.
Other sports, yeah. Well, I'd had time to think about sporting injuries, but yeah, the football ones spring to mind because they were quite regular.
Yeah, well, you deserved them.
Thank you.
That's all right. Anyway.
Or getting hit with a golf club when you're standing near someone's backswing catches you under the chin.
Does that happen to you?
Well, it happened to me when I was quite wee, when I was playing crazy golf. My cousin, she swung it back and cropped me under the chin. Yeah, maybe teeth chatter together.
I did that exact same thing up the Heath when I was. We were having a round of putting. I was with my sister and her friend Dorinda Cave, and I hit Dorinda Cave in the face with my putter.
Poor old Dorinda. It's a great name.
I don't think she liked me very much before that because I was a kind of annoying younger brother. So I suspect that just pretty much cemented the deal for her.
She had a good excuse not to invite you again. That's for sure. I've been struggling to find that excuse not to hang about with you.
Well, I don't mind hitting you in the face with a golf club if that will do it for you.
Well, I was thinking that might be that's a small price to pay. I'm just thinking.
I'll use you as driver though. It won't be a putter.
Anyway, enough of this nonsense.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Well, this was an idea that you sent through to me.
Oh.
You sent it through to me on the 22nd of May. This year.
How do you know it's the 22nd of May?
Because I wrote it down at the time, but I also remember that because that's George Best's birthday.
Is it?
The 22nd of May, yeah. And he was the next level alcoholic, wasn't he? He sort of drank his way through 2 livers. But I always remember, 22nd of May, because I remember. Do you remember the Shoot magazine? Used to get as a child. Each week they used to do a poster. And I used to take those posters out, regardless of who it was, and put it on my wall. And I remember memorised some of the birthdays of people of the. Because I always remember like the 12th of April is Bobby Moore's birthday, or the 30th of December is Gordon Banks's birthday. And so I used to have them. In fact, I ended up logging them in an old diary so I can remember them.
Honestly, sometimes you frighten me.
I like to keep things in order, which is very much what I want to come on to my next. What I want to come on to my next point. Once again, you seem to have messed up the numbering. You switched straight from season 4, episode 3 to season 4, episode 5 on the listing. So I've had to put that straight on the on the Facebook page.
I'm allergic to the number 4. Didn't you know that?
You just seem allergic to getting numbering in any sort of format. I'm sure you just do it just to annoy the hell out of me. I don't. But if it comes to it, I just sort of guess and think, it must be about number 5. Yeah, and, not the way to behave. It's no way to behave, is it? Honestly,
I think it's all right. Anyway, I think you've skated over something that we just need to drill down into a little bit more, and that is, okay. I think, if I heard you correctly, I think what you said to me was you used to take the poster out of your copy of Shoot and put it on your wall regardless of who it was.
I did, yeah.
That means you'd have had sort of Chelsea players and Tottenham players on your wall. And
I had every player. I had every team, every player, just because I wanted to fill my wall up. It got to the point where I started to move them around in order of their birthdays, so I could see when their birthday was.
Oh my God! Seriously, you need therapy.
Yeah, so I rejoiced. So I could look around my posters and see whose birthday it was that day. I thought, that's good. I had a little bit of a cheer with whoever it was. So just before we start, I wanted to mention an article I was reading in The Guardian. The link to it was on the very fine Aspire to Be Recovery Facebook page. And it was written by an article about the Reverend Richard Coles. Yeah. I know we've probably mentioned him before in the past.
His husband was an alcoholic, wasn't he?
Exactly. I mean, he wasn't. I'm not a religious person, not by any means, but I always like to hear what he has to say. And he was in Bronski beating the Communards. He had some hit records under his belt as well before he handed his life over to God. But the fact that his husband died of alcoholic liver disease 2 years ago gives him a bit of an insight into what he was talking about. And basically he was calling for more realistic and less glamorized depictions of alcoholism on TV. He referenced...
I read that article.
You did. So you probably saw that he mentioned Narcos on Netflix, about the drug barons that have all the trappings of wealth and power, and they're drinking very expensive rare scotches and tequila. And he was saying the irony being in that is that drink is a far bigger killer than the crack cocaine that they were dealing in. But then he went on to praise the Archer's storyline about Alice Carter and her realistic descent into alcoholism and the chaos it caused to those around her.
Yeah, it's that. I know you're not a massive fan of the Archers, but that's true. It's been very good. I think, if I remember rightly, the kind of gist of that article was really about how there is a kind of hope that we might be turning the corner and actually now beginning to realise that this glorification of alcohol and even alcoholism is really a pale imitation of the truth.
Yeah, and obviously he's been up close and personal to that. He went on to add, and I quote, "If we are to make realistic decisions about how we poison ourselves, we need the information, the hard facts, not the romanticised, glamorised, falsified version of alcohol that entertainment offers and advertising promotes. We need more Ambridge and less Guadalajara to restore a bit of realism to a distorted picture." So you see, once again, we're social influence, because we mentioned the Archer storyline and advertising. So several months ago. So you must have read that and just picked up on it.
Yeah, either that or we're right. In touch with the zeitgeist.
Exactly. I think we got the finger on the pulse. But I think what I wanted to talk to you about today was, moving on from that, was about self-soothing. That's what you sent me through the idea of.
What did I say in my text?
this is a good idea for a podcast episode.
Oh, I wonder what I was thinking of that day.
Well, you left me pretty much high and dry. So that was it. That was as good as it got. But it reminded me of a phrase that's often thrown around in recovery circles, especially if someone's struggling or is just coming back from a relapse. And people often say, well, be kind to yourself. And I often think, well, how do we do that? It's quite an easy thing to say, perhaps quite difficult to practice. Well, I did some research on that because I didn't really know where I was going with it all. And I was reading quite an interesting blog. It was on a website that's set up by the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, it's an American website, but there's some interesting points on that. And there's one or two I wanted to raise with you, and I'm sure you got some thoughts yourself.
Okay.
But it started off, the actual blog was by a therapist chap, and he was saying that learning to self-soothe is very hard, but it's something we should all learn how to do, especially if we have mental health conditions or traumatic pasts. And I think, a lot of people that come into recovery have probably got both of those. And so I think it's quite an important point. And because the fact that we mention it quite a lot under the banner of being kind to yourself, I think it's something that I wanted to explore a little bit more anyway.
Okay.
And he went on to say that not every techniques work. And I think he was quite insistent about that some techniques you might try and they may work for a while, but not just one technique will solve all of your ills. You've got to find your own path through it all, really. And they tend to evolve over time. You have to realise how valuable these techniques can be when you're upset or stressed. Yeah. And it's important to know how to deal with that and to have positive ways about it and how to cope on your own.
Yeah, I always think of it like like if a fuse goes in your house, you then have to go around turning appliances on and off to see which one it is that's tripping the fuse. I think self-soothing is the same sort of thing. As you say, not all techniques work. You need to go through them, try different things until you find things or a combination of things that work for you. Because you can list a whole load of techniques, but it's absolutely true to say that not everything works for everyone.
No, I like the phrase he used at the start of the blog. He was saying you don't need to be a guru on the mountaintop raking sand to self-soothe the right way. And then he went on to say that things like breathing techniques and meditation, which I wanted to explore a little bit further with you. But is there something that what would you? Are there certain techniques that you suggest to when people come to see you, or any ideas on that? I've got a list of other bits and pieces, but I really wanted to see what your thoughts were first.
Yeah, but I have a kind of number of things that I suggest to people, whether almost regardless of what their issue is. There are some I see them as kind of fundamental pillars of self-care. That's the way I think about it. Yeah. And they're, even when you get to things like kind of meditation or breathing techniques, as soon as you get there, that will start to put some people off. So I always start with things that are really kind of, we think of them as the sorts of things that everybody does, but of course not everybody is doing them. So it's things like eating properly and regularly, getting enough rest. So you often find that when people are in an emotional state, they're not sleeping very well. Their whole kind of sleep pattern tends to be irregular and disrupted. So getting back to those kind of fundamentals, going to bed at the same time every night, getting up at the same time every morning, creating a good solid sleeping routine, staying connected with people, really critical one. So stay connected to your support network, even when you feel like you don't want to talk to people because you're struggling. That's the time when you most need to talk to people, even if it's just, staying in touch with a friend or having a chat with your family once a week or whatever it might be. That's another one.
Just before you go on there's a couple of points I think are really relevant to us in recovery. Certainly the sleep pattern one the disruptive sleep pattern you have when you're in active addiction is awful. You don't know whether night is day, and if up is down or whatever. And getting back, I found in recovery, one of the real benefits was starting to get a sleep pattern back, and it took ages. It took months really to adjust it back to exactly right, going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. Trying to get that back it took an awful long time.
But the other basic one is getting outside for some exercise every day.
Okay.
And getting outside is the important bit.
Yes.
So it's no good kind of sitting in your house doing some push-ups or whatever it is, or lifting some weights. Being outside in nature, breathing fresh air in the daylight has a massively positive impact on a sense of well-being. So even if you only do those things, getting outside for a walk, eating well, sleeping properly, staying connected with your support network, that is a massive start. So in terms of self-soothing, that's the basis of it. That is the foundation, because when you do those sorts of things for yourself, you're starting to demonstrate to yourself that you matter enough to take care of.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that getting outside and exercise, I'd never really considered that greatly, but during lockdown, when do you remember right at the start of lockdown, you're only allowed outside for an hour, and using that to go for a walk, I suddenly found not only there's some lovely countryside walks to go on around here, but I was really enjoying it, and I did start to feel connected with the nature around me, and it did lift my mood and my spirits. And so I continued. I think that was one of the great things to come out from that, and I've continued to do so ever since. When I get the opportunity, get outside and walk around. It's just great. Yeah, it is just great, and it does. Even if you've got something worrying on your mind, getting outside and walking for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, or an hour, or whatever, you feel so much better about it afterwards. It puts things back into perspective. Yeah, So I'm a big fan of that, which I wasn't beforehand.
Yeah. The other one that I always add to my kind of basic list for people is doing something kind for yourself every day. And what I mean by that, I think we might have spoken about this in a previous episode, but, all of us have different ways of experiencing a kind of sense of joy or peace or calm or whatever. So the challenge there is about tapping into what it is that gives you that feeling. If it's sitting down watching the telly or reading a book or having a bath with a bath bomb, which I know you like, or whatever it happens to be, watching the football, going out, kicking a football about, whatever it is, stroking the dog, taking the dog for a walk. I always say to people, make sure you do something of that list of things every single day for yourself. It can be as simple as sitting and drinking a nice cup of coffee. But if it gives you a moment, a kind of little spark of joy, introduce it into your life every single day. It's one of the most powerful ways of self-soothing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you mentioned those basics, the pillars of it, as it were, and now you sort of moved on, I think, into some of the more nuanced areas, and some of the more nuanced areas came up in this blog as well. Okay. And you've touched on a couple of them, whereas stroking a pet was one of them that came up, which was it is nice, isn't it? I mean, it does really, it does, and the other ones that were on the list was adjusting the noise levels. Some people like complete silence, others would like to have a bit of classical music softly playing in the background or whatever, but to create this sort of an atmosphere, I suppose, of soothing, and that you're calming down and trying to reach out for serenity.
Actually, it's two things there before you go on. One, the music thing is a really important one, because everybody's tastes and the things that have that impact on people musically are really, really different. So we tend to think, when we think about soothing, something quiet, something gentle, classical music. But I expect some people chill out listening to death metal. That's fine. The most important thing is it's what works for you. I mean, you'd be listening to some Idlewild, no doubt, or the Anti-Nowhere League or something, which quite frankly would drive me round the twist. But there we are.
I think one of the first albums I used to listen to that used to put me in a good mood and make it was the very first Motorhead album, which is still very strong today. But it's thumping rock. But it used to make me feel feel quite good. But
Whereas if someone put on smooth American rock for you, that would make you want to punch holes in the walls, wouldn't it?
It would make me very angry. Yeah, but I wouldn't be kind to myself or anyone else around me. That's for sure.
The other thing to mention about stroking pets: don't just randomly stroke other people's pets. That would be my advice there.
In case you get bitten or get told off.
Yes. You can't just go up to people and randomly stroke their pets.
No, I suppose not. Because I always like to stroke dogs when they're coming towards me on the road. I always ask the owner's permission first and say, is it okay?
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Some dogs don't like it, do they?
No, especially if it's you.
Or they can be aggressive. Normally, they like me a lot, but you can get the odd dog that's going to turn a bit nasty. So, but there's also talking about, if you are settling down to treat yourself kindly, blankets was quite a good one. I'm not talking about Michael Jackson's Child here, obviously. I'm talking about, just snuggling up under a blanket, like having a duvet day, for example. Yeah. And when I looked into that also a bit further, you can actually buy sort of weighted blankets.
Did you not know about that? Where have you been?
No, I didn't know about weighted blankets. I mean, you obviously do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, weighted blankets are really. I mean, a lot of people find weighted blankets marvellous for reducing their levels of anxiety.
Well, exactly. So this is one of these on this list. I thought, I've never heard of a weighted blanket. I mean, what have they got, weights around the edges, or what are they doing?
The whole thing's weighted. Just get your partner to lie on you. That's the same thing, isn't it?
I suppose so. Yeah, but you don't know where that's going to lead. But I suppose that a weighted blanket. I didn't know about that. It was like a chainmail one. It'd be ideal, wouldn't it?
No, it's not chainmail. It's you want to get yourself one, lie under a weighted blanket.
Do I? Well, I'm going to try.
Actually, the very thought of you lying under a weighted blanket's quite amusing.
Well, if it's really weighty, you can't get up. I'll get proper stressy.
It's not so weighted you can't get up. It's not supposed to chain you down. But actually, that is connected to another important thing, which is being aware of the senses that tend to have the biggest impact on you. For some people, it will be what you feel like. Our physical sense, whether we're warm or cold, or we're feeling, pushed down under a weighted blanket, whatever it is. But for other people, it'll be listening to something, or it might even be smelling something or tasting something. Or
so both of those were on the list. So you're gradually ticking them off. So you're doing very well so far.
It's almost as if I know what I'm talking about.
I know you're up to sort of B. You'll be up to B plus soon with a few more.
Yeah. So anyway, being aware of which senses have the biggest impact on you is also important. And then if you know that you're someone who kind of really responds to certain senses, find ways of stimulating them in a positive sense, and that'll give you a really good feeling.
Yeah, they were talking about also one of the things on the list about adjusting the lighting, like using candles to give it like a soft sort of.
I like to have candles when I'm in the bath.
I know you like a candle, and the smells one came up, which reminded me of your creosote from last week. It's comforting too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now it's funny you should say that, because today I was walking, I don't know where I was walking, somewhere with a dog, and I walked past this big honeysuckle bush, and I looked at it and I thought, well, that honeysuckle is really beautiful to look at because it's all in bloom now. But actually, the thing that I got most from was the smell. Yeah. So, it's going back to that same point. You don't just assume just because something looks nice or sounds nice or whatever, that's going to be the most important sensory indicator for everybody, because people are different. Right? It's about different. Kind of just discovering it for yourself is really important.
And I think a great illustration of that, or it just reminded me of, I remember my Auntie Ruby, she bought me a candle on Christmas, and it was leather smell, right? So when you, I don't know where she bought it, I didn't ask, but when you lit it, it smelled like leather, and sort of, it reminded me of the Radio Caroline Road shows, like sweat and leather and long hair and heavy metal music.
And patchouli.
It's all rolled into that, and it was a leathery smell, and because I remember my older brother said, "God, it smells like old gigs in here."
Did you find that every time you lit it, you started headbanging?
I did. I went straight from the Motorhead album, put that on, bang, and away I went.
It would have been better if you'd not put any music on, just lit the candle and start headbanging to the candle.
I had long hair in those days. I'd have called it a light. That wouldn't have been any good.
That would have been excellent.
But you touched on taste as well, didn't you, earlier on?
Yeah.
Because again, in this, they're saying again, a bit of a childhood memory, like boiled sweets. You could, you have a boiled sweet when you're self-soothing yourself, but you get ones that remind you of your childhood, but simpler times, as it were. I mean, for me, that would be like those rhubarb and custard sweets. Do you remember those?
I do, yeah. You made your mouth sore though, didn't they? If you weren't careful.
Yeah, they did. I think there's the sort of tough, sugary bits on the outside, but the taste was, and you can still get them now. And when you taste that, it does throw you straight back, and it's quite comforting.
For me, it's pear drops or American hard gums.
Oh, yeah. But there's another one came up, was watching your favourite film. Again, watching the film probably you've already seen, and the one that comforts you, one that you feel good with. Yeah. And I don't know what sort of film would fall into. What film would you watch if you had that choice?
If I was watching a comforting film, I'd probably watch Annie Hall or Manhattan.
Would you? Oh, well, obviously, you go straight for a Woody Allen.
Yeah, definitely.
Vibe.
I would. Whereas, but when you mentioned that, immediately I thought of my daughter, because my daughter has watched every single episode of Friends countless times. That's her go-to. Wow. So whenever she kind of wants to feel kind of soothed or comforted, she just puts Friends on, and quite often she'll go to sleep with it playing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is soothing then, isn't it? She's really being kind to herself on that, especially if you've seen it loads of times before.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know. I think probably my second favourite film of all time, Life of Brian, would probably be.
What about you? What's your first favourite?
I can't remember.
I thought you were gonna. I thought probably you'd have said that the film that you were going to watch was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
No, one film I did watch the other day, when we were talking about alien abduction, I did watch. I watched Paul again, which we mentioned in. I thought I hadn't seen that for a long time, and that's quite a comforting film.
Yeah.
Yes, I was being kind to myself last weekend. So I thought I'm going to pop that on.
I'll tell you the other film that springs to mind that I know I've watched a lot of times, which always makes me feel kind of as if I'm lying under a weighted blanket, and that is the movie of the TV series Porridge.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good childhood memories, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a tin of ambrosia creamed rice would probably take me back to my childhood, or some Findus savoury pancakes.
Okay, yeah, but sure, yeah, it does say, yeah.
What was your favourite variety of Findus crispy pancake?
Oh no, I think there was a like a minced beef one.
There was. That was my least favourite, yeah.
Was it? No, I think that was the one I ought to go for.
I like the cheese one. It was like just basically a crispy pancake filled with melted cheese, and there was also a smoked haddock one.
Oh, right, okay.
What about Angel Delight? Where'd you stand on that?
What flavour?
Yeah.
Probably butterscotch, I think.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I'd have gone for peach myself.
Yeah, they're all up there, aren't they? Anyway, one of the other things that was on this list was specialist apps on your phone. I'm not sure if using tech is the right way forward here, but they threw it on the list.
Well, I'm similarly sceptical about that. But what I often do recommend to people, particularly if I've suggested to them that they might benefit from getting into mindfulness, which I think a lot of people do benefit from, particularly if they have a tendency towards anxiety. There are two very good mindfulness apps, Headspace and Calm. So I often recommend those, but I'm not sure I would recommend anything else, as a kind of distraction from. I think on balance, apps tend to take us away from our ability to self-soothe because they kind of prevent us from turning inwards, which is what we're trying to do. Yeah.
I mean, I'm also, those mentioning like meditation, which we touched on earlier on. The ones that are on YouTube, and I know that there's one that does come up quite a lot. I know in our groups, one of the guys that comes on there, Gareth, he's very big on of recommending the Honest Guys, which is quite quite easy meditation. It's on YouTube, and pop it on, and he said that he's used it a lot, and he always recommends it on for other people to have a look at as well. And I've looked at them and thought, yeah, they are good. And again, it just takes you out from the current headspace you're in.
Yeah. So I mean, that's, as I say, that's not for everybody, but certainly anything sort of meditative or mindfulness wise. The other thing is writing. There's a writing practice called morning pages, which essentially is you writing 3 full pages of A4 freehand, longhand, as soon as you wake up. It's like a stream of consciousness. So you wake up, you pick up your pad, you start writing, you don't stop until you've written 3 pages. Doesn't matter what you write, whatever comes into your head, you just write it. And a lot of people really swear by that.
Do they? That's something I've never tried.
Well, you should try it. Just try it. I mean, a lot of old rubbish will come out of your head, no doubt. But
well, exactly, yeah. But if it gets it out of my head, it's no longer taking up space there, is it? One of the last things on the list there, which is, I think it's quite a powerful one, really, especially if you're in that mood where you are, I don't know, perhaps things have got very stressy and you've got high levels of anxiety, but to let yourself cry. I was brought up, you never cried. That was never allowed to. Which took a lot of breaking down, and again, doing my rehab course and that, they sort of encouraged it. Really, it was something I just, because a lot of us in there were quite stubborn about it. But when you do allow yourself, when you're feeling a bit mizzy, it does make you feel better afterwards. So allow yourself to be kind. Don't beat yourself up and say I mustn't cry. Let it happen and let that emotion wash over you, and you can move on from it. You'd agree?
I would. I usually have a little cry before I've got to talk to you. No, anyway, crying is very positively cathartic.
It is very positively cathartic. But again, at the end of this blog, it says practice makes perfect on these. Try them, have a go, see what suits you, and then keep doing it. Because it won't just fall into place straight away. It's something you've got to concentrate on, but it will have an overall effect.
Yeah, well, I like those suggestions, but I don't like the final line in the blog, because practice makes perfect, the inference being that one needs to achieve perfection, which I don't agree with.
Okay. Well, you had to find fault somewhere, didn't you, in my research? You just left it.
Well, hang on, you're taking it personally. I'm not finding fault with your research. I'm just saying that the statement at the end of the blog is unnecessary. We shouldn't be seeking perfection in self-soothing. It's actually the reverse that we're seeking. We're seeking to be okay with whatever is presented to us. We're surrendering to our reality. That is exactly what self-soothing is. It's like saying, my reality is what it is. I can't change that. What I can affect is my kind of internal state.
Okay. Well, no, you've had a right pop at me now, and I'm going to have a cry in a minute.
Well,
you've reduced me to tears. Yeah. But so that was my research. And it dovetailed very neatly with whether you did in research or whether you just did it off the top of your head, which I suspect mostly the latter. Anyway, I'm going to move on to my gratitude list, which you've already touched on right at the start of this, about me going down to see Lizzie in her new house.
Nice.
So that's on my gratitude list. Going down to see, it's always nice when your children sort of make those steps. And being around to witness it is just lovely. So buying her first house, I think is great. And going down to see it, which is a lovely house her and her partner Jacob bought. And I was so delighted for them. I really am. And it's great. So I'm really grateful that I was able to go, and I'm grateful I'm around to witness it, but grateful the fact that they wanted me to come down and have a look at it.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Congratulations, Lizzie and Jake. I hope you're very happy in your new home. I feel like a DJ now.
You sounded like a DJ,
and
mate.
Here comes Bachman Turner Overdrive with You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet.
But they're regular listeners to the podcast, so they'll be delighted to get name checked.
Oh, good. Well, I'll tell you what I'm grateful for this week. I'm grateful for having grown up with a mother who cooked meals for me every day, because it struck me this week that there are so many kids that grow up now never seeing their parents cook, having no idea about how to cook, never really being able to appreciate the joy of food. And, well, as you know, I'm very interested in cooking and food, but a lot of that is down to my upbringing. You know, I think we underestimate the impact that our upbringing has on us in so many different ways. And that was just something that, that struck me this week. So that's what I'm grateful for.
That's a good one.
Grateful for my mum's chocolate pudding and chicken casserole.
Oh, your mum was a good egg. I always liked your mum. Much missed. But yeah, no, that's good. That's a good item to go on the gratitude list. Spotify searches, when you put in soothing, as you can imagine, all you get up is reams and reams and reams of sort of lullaby songs for babies or rain sounds. Or one of them was hairdryer noises, which I thought was quite an interesting one. So, you could listen to several minutes of just hairdryer noises. Apparently, it sends babies off to sleep quite quickly.
Really? But, was there any Tibetan singing bowls?
Well, I was surprised with the lack of that on there, to be honest, because I thought that would have been the noise they make. Very soothing, but
did you find Soothe Operator by?
No, because that would be wrong. You're stretching the point. I like to see you racking your brain to see if you could come up with a title of something. But there was also these noises. These soothing noises for cats and dogs and other pets that you can play to them. Yeah. One of the guys that I know where we're working at the moment, he's very big. He loves his cats and he plays them soothing music all day long.
Really?
Crazy, yeah. He gets rescue cats, looks after them, and he only has one at a time.
What do they like, music-wise? Cat Stevens?
Cat Stevens, but anyway, what went on in the end was a song called "Soothe My Soul" from Depeche Mode.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is one of their later ones. Well, I say later. It's from an album, The Delta Machine, in 2013. So, to my mind, that's quite recent. As you get older, 2013 is a very recent past, isn't it? Especially when I went to see Depeche Mode in 1981 when they were touring their very first album, the Speak and Spell tour. So it's a long time after that. I went with Paul, my brother, Yeah, he was a big Depeche Mode fan.
He was, yeah. A bit big in both senses of the word.
He was a very tall chap,
Yeah, he was very tall and he really liked them.
He loved them, yeah. He did.
He was double big.
He did. Well, the problem, I remember it was in the Hans Methodian, and people standing behind, as you know, I'm sort of just over 6'3", and Paul was 6'8", very pissed off standing behind us two at the front there. They couldn't see the stage.
Was that the gig where you heard someone behind you say 10,000 people in here and we get stuck behind the biggest bastard in England? Was that?
No, that happened to us.
That was status quo, wasn't it?
No, that was at Wembley, watching England play football, yeah. That was 100,000 people in there that night. Yeah, they got stuck behind the two biggest bastards in England. Yeah, it was a good phrase. Anyway, that's about me, mate.
All right. Okay, well, I'll see you anon.
I'll catch you later on.
Yep, laters.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.